that's his prerogative, and we look forward to getting him back in the fold.
He told us that he won't practice unless he signs his contract. So at this point, are you confident that he'll have his contract signed by start of training camp?
I'm not going to make any predictions.
Did you talk to him following those comments he made the other day?
We've had good communication.
Is there any concern that this thing lingers? Even let's say he gets the deal done, given all of the back and forth before he's even signed, if that lingers moving forward?
I think we have a great team right now, and so our focus is just keep this team moving forward. And when those situations work themselves out, we'll welcome those guys back on the field. But right now, we have a great team that's made good progress, and we'll focus on that.
You still feel pretty good about what he can bring to y'all moving forward, given all the stuff that's happened? How do you feel about him as a player?
Yeah, I do. And we've had a COVID offseason before. We never had an offseason, and you started August 15th. So there's still time to get work in, and I'm excited to get him to do that.
You had to deal with a little bit of distraction last year with Shemar at training camp, and you certainly don't know what's happening with Trey and with Shemar. Is there anything you learned from last year that you can take into this training camp to help prepare yourself to handle this?
I think every situation is a little bit different.
How do you think Al's done in terms of accounting for you don't have three projected starting defensive linemen?
Outstanding. And I agree with what he said yesterday. This is a positive in some ways because so many guys have gotten so many reps and they've been able to cross-train. And so it's been really good for guys as we build that depth. Guys are fighting for opportunity. In that way, it's been a very positive thing. I think Al and our staff has done a great job, especially on that side of the ball, practicing with intent every single day, the install, what we're trying to achieve, holding the guys accountable, and the players have really bought in, and that's been exciting for me to see.
Can you describe his attention to detail? It really stands out watching him do his thing.
I mean, he's a grinder first and foremost. I mean, he's in here the crack of dawn every single day, making sure everything's ready for the coaches, number one, and that they've talked through every area because it's new. We got guys from different backgrounds. We got guys from the Saints, from the Rams, from the Patriots, from Notre Dame, guys that were here last year with Chuck, Jordan, and Ronnie. And so it's been good. He's been grinding over these last 5 months to make sure everybody's on the same page and meeting extra, and just really impressed with the process they followed and talking through all the hard things that you have to iron out so that by the time you give it to the players believe in it and understand it very clearly. And so really just hats off to the defensive staff for the work they put in to get on the same page and allow us to make the progress we've made through the spring.
I'm not sure if you saw it, but Al said that he regrets not taking your advice about taking a day off when he got hired. Has he told you that? Has he communicated?
I mean, it's mostly ball with us, and he needs a vacation. There's no doubt about it. He's earned it, and so I'm excited for him. Just off the college season that they had, and just so thankful for the work that he's put in, to make our team better, our organization better, and so that will pay off during the season certainly. But for now, he certainly deserves a vacation.
There's been so much talk about the fast start and what you guys need to change either in the off season or training camp. Has there been anything tangible that you've seen that you've enacted here the last couple of months to help make that happen?
I think every season's been different. The reasons for our 0-2 starts have been different, I think, every single season. It's something we certainly talk about, and training camp will feel a little bit different in some ways. We're only going to practice with ourselves this offseason. This preseason. We're going to let our starters play a little bit more, hopefully in the games. Hopefully that plays out that way. And I do think practicing in the mornings will be good from the player's standpoint, to take some of the temperature off of them, to get really quality reps. There will be opportunities later in camp to fight through the heat as we get ready for some 1 o'clock games. The only real difference is for the coaches, the install progression is a little bit different when you practice in the morning, but we embrace that. It'll be good to change it up for us. Some of us have been here a long time, so it'll be good to change it up and have to adapt like we ask our players to adapt. So I'm really excited for training camp to get here so we can start putting in the work. We've talked in depth about it as a coaching staff, so I feel like we're already ready to go tomorrow. But we'll take these 5 weeks and fine-tune everything and be ready to go.
When did you make that call to switch practice time?
A couple months ago.
What led to that ultimately?
Just we want to think about, what's the best thing for this team, the 2025 team. And so again, just because we've done it a certain way, I kind of said this forever, just because it's been done a certain way forever doesn't mean that that's how we have to do it. And so sometimes it's good, for the offensive staff, a lot of us have been here for 7 years. It's just good to have to adapt and adjust and keep you on your toes a little bit and adjust to a new schedule. And I'm excited about it. I think it'll pay dividends for our players, and so we'll put it into effect this year.
How do you see Knight's progress? He's obviously going to step in here and be the opening day guy. How have you seen his progression.
Well, those guys are still competing for that, but I do think that he has worked really hard. You know, as I come in the building, he's one of the first guys in the locker room every single day. Very mature. He's ready to go, ready to compete. I think that linebacker room has all taken really good steps. You know, I think Mike Hodges has done a good job with the group. They're understanding what the defense is calling for, and so I think that you got some rookies. You got a guy we acquired, you know, Oren Borks through free agency, and then Logan who's back here. And so I'm really excited about the growth that group has shown over the course of the offseason.
Can you tell he's a former quarterback? Right?
Well, you know, he and many we got a lot of high school quarterbacks, you know, and triple option quarterbacks. So I don't know that he was necessarily a thrower. I have not yet seen him throw. So I love him to death. He gets a lot of credit for throwing, for being a quarterback. I need to see him throw before we really call him a quarterback. So
Your teams have finished strong. They've been fresh in playoff runs. Has that been one of the challenges in tweaking what you're going to do before the season in hopes of getting off to a faster
because
start?
the rhythm of the days and how we're going to be physical for 2 days and then a walkthrough day and then 2 days, that is to keep us fresh at the end of the season and to prevent the injuries and make sure that we're ready to go and we got enough fuel in the tank as we close out the season, which has been something that we've been strong with. And now it's just these first couple weeks in September starting faster than we have, and really our only focus is Cleveland. Just getting ready for Cleveland, starting fast against Cleveland. That's our number one priority.
Over the years, as you guys have kind of had to handle some of the business stuff, how have you guys managed to minimize the distraction level as you prepare for season?
It gets a lot of attention in the media, and not as much attention in the locker room. And so I think it's very easy for us to isolate ourselves in these walls. We spend a lot of time here. You get asked questions about it, but you just learn to keep it moving. So I think our players have done a great job just focusing on what's important inside the walls, getting our reps done in practice. Certainly gets a lot of headlines and stories and all that, but we don't worry about any of that stuff. And it could be a contract, it can be an injury, it can be any sort of adversity that's going to strike all 32 teams in this league. It's all going to come in different shapes and forms. It's how your team handles adversity the best. And this team's got a history of doing a great job handling adversity the right way.
You saw conversation.
Somebody over here is going to try to
What's the thought process behind no joint practices being good for this particular team?
Just focusing on us right now. I think joint practices have a great benefit. I think for what we need to do this year, we don't need to sacrifice that day before as we're preparing for our opponent and then practicing that day and then taking the day off and then going and playing the game. We're just going to get 3 great days of work of our install, of improving on the things we need to improve on instead of competing against another team. So there will be years where we do that once, maybe twice, like we did last year. This is a year we just decided we got to focus on ourselves. A little bit took shape, I think, the way our preseason schedule is going to fall. We play Philly pretty quick, and then we got a long break against Washington. I'm excited to get some really good work. We're going to get 6 great full padded practices between that Philly game and the Washington game with no distractions, just us going against each other, making sure we're improving at the things we need to improve on. We didn't even do the faces for the tail end of that week so that we can make those decisions as we get into camp on what we're going to do and what we're going to emphasize. So you can tell I'm fired up about it. Can't wait to get to that part of the preseason and see where this team has grown into.
Minicamp is one thing, but how important would it be to have Trey here for training camp?
I think anytime you got great players, you want them to be around them, and that's just a decision he's got going on right now, and we'll keep focusing on the guys that are here.
You said the conversation and communication with Shemar has been positive. Obviously, there's frustration there on his side. How do you cut through the business side of it and that frustration to still have positive conversation?
You just try to meet with people on a human level.
Coach, could you see guys playing in multiple preseason games? I think
that's on the table. That's absolutely on the table. Again, I haven't been through this now for 14 years, really.
Right.
It can change every training camp. A certain game can change based on health of people, based on decisions we want to make. So I don't mind putting that out there in the world that we're considering playing these guys in 2 or 3 of the games. But that's always subject to change based on how training camp goes.
One thing Al mentioned yesterday was the tyranny of comfort. I'm curious how you take those comments in terms of maybe making your players a little bit more uncomfortable handling that.
I just think, anytime there's change within a program, change within a coaching staff, it's good. It makes me adjust. It makes me uncomfortable in some areas. I don't know the defense as well as I did in years past, which is great. It gives me something to invest in and grow in and fine-tune over the course of the summers that I come back in training camp in the same shape as some of those guys mentally. And so I think it's really good for all of us to have some change, have change with the schedule, have change with some scheme. I think Pitch and the offensive coaching staffs have done an outstanding job of driving the evolution of our offense as well. And making things uncomfortable for the players, making things uncomfortable for the coaches, investing a lot of time and making sure we're improving.
What do you tell the guys, particularly the rookies, about the next 6 weeks?
We've every way imaginable, meeting with the rookies separately, meeting with the team, laying out on a Doug does a great job on a June-July joint calendar, just exactly how long that time gap is. It's 5 weeks, and you got to have a great plan in place that you can't be the reason why we start training camp slow because you're a starter or a backup at a key position and you get started slow because you get a soft tissue because you're out of shape, or you come back and it takes you 3 days to regain the knowledge that we've already invested in the offseason. So we got to hit the ground running. That's on every single player and coach to be able to do that over these next 5 weeks. You got to have a great plan in place to be consistent every single day. And I can't think of any other way to preach it other than the 10 days we've done it so far in these team meetings. And I expect our players to hold themselves to a high standard when they get back.
What have you seen out of Chase Brown throughout this offseason?
Just continued growth. I'm not surprised by anything I see from Chase Brown. But again, he loves football, number one. His energy is contagious, and the details are important to him. Getting better every day is important to him. He's one of those guys you can really lean on just to be consistent every single day, and that's a key piece of our offense. And he's done a great job kind of just edging in there with a ton of great playmakers on offense and making himself a priority. Like, we got to get this guy the ball in as many ways as possible. And you say that with all the other weapons we already have. And so that's just a credit to him to find his niche and force us to have to give him the ball as many times as possible.
Where's your comfort level in the guards right now?
It's good, but that's a hard question in the offseason. Yeah. Until you put pads on and they have to really think on the move when they're tired and the communication's different. They're getting stressed by different fronts and pressures. And so I love praising guys, as you all know, and I'm encouraged by that group. I think they've put in the necessary work to take the steps that are possible to take in the offseason. And so I'm continuing to be excited about what we have there and the job Scott and Mike have done with those guys. But we need to get through training camp to really know offensive line wise the progress we're making physically.
Following up on the run game, how much of a next step for the run game this year can be getting out in front, being in specific game scripts to be in that spot? That's a huge part of it. Playing with a lead allows you to really keep teams off guard with the run game and the play actions and the play action screens off of it and the nakeds, and that stuff becomes a lot more valuable when you do that. And that's a total team effort. That's us protecting the football on offense and scoring points. That's the defense being one of the top teams in the league in takeaways and getting stops, and allows you to play. It goes both ways, offense and defense. Defense can be more aggressive because they can pin their ears back. They got the lead. Offensively allows you to do more things and be multiple and really hold the defense accountable. And then closing games this year, has that kind of been a project you guys have looked at specific situations?
Yeah, I mean, we've had opportunities, and that'll be more 2-minute focus, in the game focus as we get into training camp. Not something we've really been able to focus on too much in the offseason, but something we're not afraid to talk about.
To piggyback on that, how much do you prioritize time of possession in the fourth quarter offensively compared to other 3 quarters?
When you have a lead, you have great time of possession in the fourth quarter. That's an easy thing to do when you have the lead and you're able to run and bleed the clock. When you don't have the lead, you need snaps. And so I think fourth quarter time of possession really is factored in by the first 3 quarters and where you're at in the game. I think most of our wins, you'll see we have great time of possession in the fourth quarter because we're snapping the ball with just a couple seconds on the clock. So that's 10 seconds you're stealing on every single play when you have control. But the number one thing is you have to be efficient. To get time of possession, you need to be efficient with your play calls. So that's not just running the ball. That's throwing the ball for completions, keeping the defense off balance, and allowing yourself to still control the game that way.
How would you describe maybe the changes in it? Because you've had a shift in with a different run game. There's no run game coordinator. I guess you and Pitch are probably doing that. Has it been a big change, do you think, or is it just kind of tweaking when it comes to
I think it's evolving is the better word. It's just where is our offense at? Who are our weapons? And so how you're going to utilize them in the pass game needs to be balanced and countered with the run game. It needs to look very similar to the defense. And so, again, that's a constant evolution for us in the run game. And it's not just myself, Pitch, Scott. It's the whole offensive staff. Like Justin Hill and James Casey in the run game have I've got tremendous respect for their knowledge of the run game. They've been here a long time. They have a huge role in that. Justin or Scotty, I got tremendous respect for him and his role in the run game. Troy Walters as well. So I think all these guys play a big part in that, and they've all invested in it. Pitch has done a great job delegating different responsibilities to these guys, and we'll continue to let that happen during training camp.
When's the last time you legged out an infield single?
Fifth grade. Fifth grade, probably. Not stretching, hitting it, and then realizing I have to sprint. That's not a great combination. So sadly, I'm sore today from 90 feet?
Yeah.
90 feet? That's
Yep.
impressive, I knew that. 90 feet, I don't feel my best.
Who were you most impressed with out there last night?
Cam Taylor, Britt. I should have known. Like he threw the ball in high. He threw for I think 1,000 yards his senior year, 1,500 yards his senior year. His overall athleticism, the plays he makes as a DB, plays on the ball. The play he made at shortstop where he kind of fielded on the move. It was a bad throw to first, but we could all see the athleticism. Is anybody going to comment on my throw from shortstop to home, by the way? It was like, that led to the pickle. It allowed us to get T in the pickle. Because if I didn't make that throw to home, T's already at third base. But because of the accuracy, Gio was able to get the ball to third, get him in the pickle, get the out, and get us out of the inning. So not enough credit maybe going to me for that one particular throw that I've thought about over and over. But I made some bad ones as well. So.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.